Hello, everyone. Let me just turn this audio down a bit. More. Alright, I think that's good. We're back. After a bit of a hiatus, after I had a bad head cold last week, we are back to the final episode in the first game of the Great Ace Attorneys. Also, Senmar, thank you for the 40-month resub. Wait a minute. Did you... Wait. What did you do? Game. This seems like it's one slide in front of where I should be. I'm going to go ahead and assume I didn't miss anything. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. A demon who stops a sneeze. How generous of you. Thank you for the 46-month resub. You ate your edible gummies thinking they were candy. Regular candy. Now you're in for a bad time. I hope to alleviate that, but I don't think my voices are going to help. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination? Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov. I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Court blimey! Wait, it's court blimey! This is gonna be hard work. Yeah, I know. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibanks. Let's flash back to that, because it was 2 weeks ago. But hey, I'm not gonna do that voice again, because I'm already tired of it. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Oh, and Kami Xantar, thank you for the 32-month resub. On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of this sort! How you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment, says the guy who knew they were lying in the first place. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. Say no, we hear ya. We're blab, we're squeak, we're peach. Witness testimony. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard a gunshot, see? Made us both jump, and all that stuff went flying. Mummy, oh gosh, I really, I hate when they try to type in the accent. It just makes it harder to read. Lummy, it didn't give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter come out the door and give us next. We stuck everything back where we found it in Scarborough, straight back into the back. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? You never even had a chance, did we? Someone in the comments said this was like Mario and Luigi, and while that may be accurate, that would even be that would have an even harder accent for me to try and bring into this. So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windibank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransacked, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. Wait out, Nash, wait out. Can't you make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be a coincidence that these men showed up at Windibanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Okay, but they still haven't attested to shooting Sholmes. Just do your best, Chris Pratt. No comment. Let's start with the pressing. If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well said, Ringo, me old China. Me old China. We only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble. That's rotten luck. Says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. Yeah, as you can hear, this is why I didn't play this game last week. Sorry.
Hold it.
So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much, you knocked all those things off the counter? Well, shocked us. It shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of Nords needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright. Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up with that bang. Big brother screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. They got tangled up in some marionette, was knocked over a picture frame. What knocked them scales on the floor? You've really mastered working quietly, then. What a racket! Me granny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that. The gunshot got her out of the grave, the clatter got her back into the grave. Well, at least it's a closed book there. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some! I mean, it was quiet as a mouth, and then all of a sudden, blam! Alright, hold on. There's something going on over here. Okay.
Excuse me.
Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add?
Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels.
No, something to add about their testimony. You seemed to react just now to what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something?
It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you don't get little details.
Oh, man. Jacob Plays, thank you for the 5-month resub. Thanks for giving me a second to yawn, since I cannot do the Gregson voice without tucking my chin away, and that makes me yawn. How about you just tell us what's on your mind?
As you know, we brought these fellows into the yard for questioning last night. And the statement they gave then told a slightly different story as to what they're saying now.
Did it?
You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot.
Might have, Gov, might have. Does ring a bell now that you mention it.
Granted, that's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you were a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas?
If I discover the witness's... Hold on. I have to disappointed Santa. Ho, ho, ho. If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Hanging! Easy, easy! We'll get right to it. We'll get it right this time. That's it. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with what other details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Right you are, Gov. Okay, well, definitely elaborate on that, please. So, in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously? We did, Gov, we did. Although, I suppose, if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Bam! Kind of thing. A career in acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could! From the other side of that door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Vinderbank? On me granny's life, course it was! On his granny's life, course it was! So that would mean that you both knew Mr. Winterbank and the sound of his voice? Eh? So that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas? Yes, Counsel, indeed it would. No, we didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when that bloke and all the fancy clobbers giving us the evil eye? If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. On me granny's life it is! On his granny's life, it must be! It's a good job his granny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. You make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget we tidied up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it.
Hold it!
You're saying that Mr. Winterbank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, I bet that was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have gotten pretty heated. I mean, just before I shouted out, we heard the geezer say, if you don't want to get shot. Didn't really sound like he meant mine, more of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Winterbank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. Okay, now wait, now two of them, you can't just brush that over, now both of them have guns. This story's like a bad soap opera. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head, his own, if required. That someone being himself. Okay, fair enough, Fanzax. You brought that back. Good grief! Extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, it certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was going to shoot him beat him to it. Cooked his good proper. Cooked his screws proper. Bet he wished he squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun!" And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot? It was more or less at the same time, Gov. Like that. Kind of thing. Wait. But he was shot in the chest. So this is already wrong. You know, he was shot in the back, which was identified in the autopsy report. So their little pantomime of it isn't right. Shinzo, thank you for the 29-month resub. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck. Before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash job tying the place up. Yeah, no, go back. Okay, yeah, so where's that gun? Because now we have two guns in this story, but only one gun... Well, we have two guns accounted for, but one of them is theirs, and we already classified that was the one that shot Sholmes. So now we want... this.
Objection!
So you're saying... that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You got the picture? Yes, Nass, yes, no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description. We got the pursuit theme. Here it goes. Eh? You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right!
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in this incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Okay, but now there are 3 guns in the story. Where's the gun Mr. Windibank was holding? Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the victim's hand. I made Van Zykes go very Dracula there. Yeah, that Motula used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Like that.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Goodness, are you sure, Counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? It's either the autopsy report or the picture of the crime scene. I would like to imagine the game is going to be direct. So I'm going to say it's the autopsy report. Which is somewhere in here. Holy crap. There it is.
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. It doesn't have to mean that, but sure. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Yeah. But it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash. It is. When we were shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand, and we saw it with our own bleeding eyes. I'll live. Hold on. I've got to mute this mic. Yeah, you see, and this is why I took a week off. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Winterbank holding a gun? Something like that might have slipped out. Duh. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Hey, Nash, Noises. Order, order, order. Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. I mean, Your Honor, at this point, they've lied like 3 times. Can we just... They've perjured themselves so much. You two jurors, since we're okay with just talking to you like you're normal people instead of impartial jurors here, are you really still gonna go with guilty on this testimony? Whatever. Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witnesses would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, we, Cut it out, Nash, cut it out! If we blab now, you know what will do to us. He? Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Hey. Bro, come on, the game's up! We have our guts for goddess! In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well... Do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance. Really? How many times at the Apple are we going to let them have a shot to tell the truth? Let's do this again, for the 3rd time. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed us his mug. Give me that gun, he... Oh, God. I already forgot the accent I was using for Nash. Give me that gun, he bellowed. Then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was as strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled my gun on him, and then he legged it through that door into the back room. Now we've gone full Cockney. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's what happened, I swear. So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop? Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Ash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Here I go pressing again.
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank? Who else? Sorry, I mean that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come in out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom? Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when the brothers entered the premises. Oh boy, here comes Iris. Which means Jenny must have been in there at the point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windibank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What, that Motula? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Kaba, we had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it.
Hold it!
You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claim that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Windibank, wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey lummy! A great ugly barrel he had, pointed straight at me frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windibank with the gun at that time? Is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. And all of a sudden, he came at us, he did. It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. We were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we had it. I mean...
Hold it!
Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony, too. Well, yeah, of course we did. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. They got tangled in some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame, what knocked over them scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, big bruv, you went flying over the counter like a gunshot, I can tell you. Then the old geezer pinned him. He didn't, Ash, he did. If you ain't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There was a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right, when the brothers fled the scene and back into the street. They ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Winterbank, he did everything he could to protect his shop. Tony, thank you for the 33-month resub.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Winterbank? No, never. I was just, looking out for me bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then, the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away. Then he went off through that door and shoved himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Winterbank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Jenny was in there waiting for him with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Winterbank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Winterbank's hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and my brother... That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and my brother...
Hold it!
You say he had nothing to do with it? Nothing at all! Nothing, God, nothing. The old geezer went in and shut himself into the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We knows it was because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one, good and strong, wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker there was only one other person. The sole person who could have possibly shot the victim. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. But where's that third gun? Where is it? Van Zykes, account for it. It would indeed appear so. I do not know why the judge now has that accent. What do you say to that, counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Winterbank? Yeah, no one else. I give up. She's guilty, Your Honor. We're done here. Let's go get lunch. Yeah, no, there could have been. That's the whole point of the game. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Eh? What? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. You did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Winterbank? And it is of the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums. Two, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at that time? Understood, my lord. Are you alright, Runo? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it could change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. And here's where we finally come back to the thing I said what would happen in the fucking beginning of this case. They were standing on the other side of the door, shooting through the slit in the door. Let me blow your mind here, Dracula.
Take that!
The defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And then answer to the second question. Assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? Right? Well, I was assuming he was going to be right by the door. So here...
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windibank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Yeah, so he wasn't really that far from where he was found. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom door, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through that door into the back room. Complete with all the necessary typos that would affect his accent in text. If Mr. Windibank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. Oh! It was at precisely that moment, when the victim was fleeing for his life, that the brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Oh, this is... No, you're barking up the wrong tree here, Reno. I can already see it. You're still alleging that the brothers did it, but the only gun they have has already been accounted for. There's still that third gun. The Phantom Gun, Runo. Go for the Phantom Gun. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, this report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. That's it, that's exactly how he said it. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Ah, of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. It's a magic bullet. Someone call the FBI in 60 years. We got something to tell him. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windibank.
Objection!
I wish I could do, like, Gina actually affecting the Dracula accent, but I'm not that talented. I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? But, what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there was someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, The defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, you shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside. Male Strongheart! I know, I've already broken the rule of 3, but yeah, no, she was found in the room in case it was actually this. Gina did it. Gina did it. Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd! You're suggesting the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? What, do I have to explain every fucking thing for you guys? I guess that's a tricky one, that isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windibank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windibank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruh! If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Then, gunshot. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windibank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this! Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windibank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it. In order to save her own life. Gah. Oh! But I ain't. I mean, we ain't the ones that done it. We ain't, Gub, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We never shoot no one. That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Herlock Sholmes. There is only one logical conclusion here. If Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every... I keep wanting to say Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin. I don't understand why they phrase it like that. You had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windibank's murder. That was amazing, Runo! All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, for the first time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Sure, they have to give a verdict of not... Heh heh heh. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing? You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zykes? I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. Okay, hold on. While he drinks this thing, I need a cough. Alright. I dare say. Such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pitfoggery here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly credibly cannot, and I will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. Alright, everyone start dancing. It's the organ music. Anyway. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zykes! Might be an idea to explain this bully conjuring trick for whatever it is to the troops on the ground. The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really quite simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets! By George, count bullets! Oh dear. He noticed them. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Counsel! Yes, sir? Tell the court, how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime? Two. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. Here, with the green blood. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. Now 3. The third gun seems to have been mentioned and forgotten. Unless they're trying to say Windibank and Gina were sharing 1 gun. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windibank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Sherlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find... If the single bullet was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means... Windibank was not shot by the same gun! Stop! Only 1 bullet! Stop! Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing to scrutiny. Ah! Ah! Dead. Order! 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 Ah! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hollowed nectar into the public gallery, and striking that one woman and her baby in the face. Lord Van Zykes! But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question, with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond a doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. We were holding it back for dramatic effect! That disc! He said I'll be taking whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard. Thank you very much. No, don't. Give it to him. It's mine, that is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss. But anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Flashback. 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 Yes, that music box disc. McGilded's music box disc. The very day before the fateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly does not belong to her. And with none of the subtlety of the subtlety of the pickpocket, I might add, by brute force and brazen impudence. prudence and impudence. Make no mistake. Any sympathy for the accused on account of her years is misguided and dangerous. I don't believe Ryunosuke ever mentioned that she was a girl and therefore should be treated with kitty gloves. There are no depths to which this girl would stoop if punished. If there were... Take two. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed. No crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence counsel. It is a grim testament to the defendant's character. Well, hold on. Lord Van Zykes, I am... Inspector Gregson, what? Yes, Inspector?
We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed that disc wouldn't be used as evidence.
What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? It's the first time he said anything to Van Zykes at all. I am unaware of any such meeting.
But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent.
Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted, thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord.
Indeed, bailiff.
Music box 6 has been entered into the court record. The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. Last part isn't required. There is nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions, and the rest of my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all for 5 minutes! Oh dear! It wasn't even for 5 minutes, Runo, it was for 2.5! My lord! I knew it! Fucking jury's gonna stab us in the back again! Wonder if I might add something at this point? Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up until now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden... The answer's bully obvious to me and my man. There's only one thing for it. Oh no! Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 No, damn it! Stereoscope man, you've betrayed me! And you are still not a citizen of this country! We have a consensus. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. Then you have eliminated the impossible. Whatever remains must be the truth. And then immediately Herlock Sholmes comes in and slaps the guy with an NDA. You've said that! It belongs to me! Or rather, it should be Irish would shoot him. That's my line! That's my... Oh, okay, fair enough. Alright, there we go. I jumped the gun slightly, but Iris has it in the bag. I wrote that for early! Oh, how dare he use it against us! Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windibank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Garradeb Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir! Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, You will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Oh, sorry, hold on. I was just checking to see if I had dinner delivered. Because now that we're about the hour mark, I was thinking I might take a small break. You know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes as I clear my throat and get a bite to eat. Be right back. Alright, I'm back. Let's hear what these damn jurors have to say for themselves. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed as law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say that this case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, that was that pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief. The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day indeed. Ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. What? Elaborate. Damn it. It would seem there is little remaining room for doubt. I have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more! Ugh, the whole courtroom is turning against me. Again. It's not fair! Iris? That prosecutor's being mean! Just because Ginny's done things she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer! Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually. That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. Actually, you know what? Before we get into this crap, there's one thing we haven't had a chance to look at yet. The music box disc. Hey, Iris, we got some blood here. Oh, Runo, look! This is blood! Yes, you're right. Just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Ha-ha, then it's my time to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Runo. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? In a flash. Lick the blood. Oh, boy. Oh, a lovely bright shade again. Wait, that color. What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? Oh, I'm sorry, couleur. Been neglecting my ores. Yes, that was the blood splatter that was on the calendar, which means it's not Shom's blood. We just guessed it was Shom's because that was the only other person who got shot. Interesting! So anyway, back to the damn jury. And me dying. I can't really do much with that. That might be something to happen upon now that we have the blood samples. But... yeah, you know what? Let's go with 6. Even though 4 is also being just as vague as before. 6 has just said, I'm good with bullets. I think that's something worth elaborating upon.
Hold it!
I thought you were just a tourist. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like bus to Crystal Tower, please. Oh, there's no way he's just visiting. He's just a visiting tourist. So, you're a ballistics expert? Who knew? I have much experience with guns. Ah. I lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent bath of, no, blood of, ah, extremely violent bloodbaths, perhaps? Ah, those, extremely violent bloodbaths. English is very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have questions about bullets and guns, you ask me. There is nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But, if possible, please, only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, still, we should bear it in mind. He's our man if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. Okay, wait, we have some. We have some. Van Zykes managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the impossible, he said, but he hasn't. If we're going to fight back, we need more material. We have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. Okay, so clearly just pressing Juror 6 was not enough. Do I really have to press every single one of them? I'd rather not. Well, then I guess we'll just continue with the vague ones, with actually juror number 4. Everyone else is pretty much clear-cut in saying, I don't like Gina.
Hold it!
Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it has nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. You were the fucking doctor who worked on Sholmes, weren't you? Huh? I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? I almost don't want to ask, but this surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on... What was the fellow's name now? Hairlick? No. Hairlock? No. Hairlock? Hairlock. Hemlock. Herlock Sholmes by any chance? Yes, good lord! It was that Hairlock fellow! What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes? That's right, using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major op, I can tell you. This is crazy. Really? Is it? Let me see, that fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb. I couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up. I hate to state the obvious, but... Yes? Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting?
The counsel of the defense is correct. As clearly shown in this photographic print, the bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region.
Then exited his body and lodged into the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem three-dimensionally.
Ha! Who do you think I am, son?
Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do.
As soon as I saw the wound in the man's stomach, I flipped him over.
Like a pancake? Are you saying that you checked his back?
Of course I did, and there wasn't a trace of injury. No sign that the bullet had left the body at all.
What?
That's the point! The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I said about slicing him up. And I'm still none the wiser, even now. How many times do I have to say it?
Jesus, this has gone crazy.
Can someone please explain how it happened? Can someone please solve this mystery?
Juror number 6, come on down. It's almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. Alright, well, I think that's good enough for me. Hey, juror number 4, I'd like you to go ahead and meet juror number 6.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other. Fair enough, game, fair enough.
Ooh, a ballistics expert!
Pitting. P-I-T-T. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume that the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Velin. Pleased to meet you. And this apparent contradiction in the facts is that is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Wonderland. It was night. There was blizzard. I was running away along Mountain Road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles, then they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind, and I fell down in snow. And this situation was very similar to what I heard today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body, and no sign of, how do you say, exit wound.
Then where did the bullet go?
Bullet never hit me.
Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down?
Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound.
Good gracious!
Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me. And that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. What the fuck is going on?
But that doesn't answer the question at all! The shooting happened in the pawnbroker's shop. Not some snowy mountain road in another country.
Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here.
Runo, where exactly was Hurley shot again?
Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around this area, I think. I guess Ryunosuke is gesturing somewhere.
Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt.
A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that.
Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps his 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigations.
What? Really? Doctor, where is the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing?
Well,
The fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember. If I may. Lord Van Zykes? But I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during summation examination. I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. I was waiting for the right moment to surprise you with it. Bah! Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Ah! Thank goodness! I thought I was getting forgetful at the moment. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact it has not been touched since the incident occurred, except by me. Don't ask what I do with it. Very well. While extremely unconventional during summation examination, I must demand the prosecution presents the item in question with all speed. Who's saying this? Let's say it's Zykes. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Shrom's pouch! That's just clever enough wording that I will screen cap. That might be the thumbnail for this archive. I see. So this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? Look at that! One of the files is broken and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the file exploded. Exploded? So that night, the bullet from the Skulkin Brothers gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch. And it was the glass vial exploding that caused the fellow's injury. This bullet did not penetrate the victim, but was deflected into Wallace's shop. Delightfully complex aroma. Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved at least. Though it has no bearing on the truth of this case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered. Ugh. But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man. Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester this scruffy pouch as evidence. Ernie's pouch isn't scruffy! More stuff to investigate! Hooray! Hey, Van Zykes. I found something in here. Well, look at that! It's the third fucking bullet! It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken, look! Must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see! Okay, and after you did that, what did that reveal? What the... Iris, look! Behind where the broken vial was. Do you see it? Oh, that's... the Skulkin Brothers' bullet! What a stroke of luck that it hit his pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is... there were 3 bullets fired at Winterbanks that night. We found exactly what that juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet! It's time to press that juror again, I think. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion, Please, my lord, a little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue. And you can't afford to overlook anything here, Ryunosuke. I already beat you to it, dude. There's still a way to turn this around. Somehow. I'm sure of it. Alright, so back it up. Well, I have a surprise for you. Wait, I can't present this. How do I present this? I don't want to pit you against somebody. I just want to show you this thing. Do I have to pit you against your number 6 again? Hold on, what do the other ones say? Ah, there we go. So we have that bullet in mind, so I can't... I still... Well, no, I can. Fuck. Press... It's the number of bullets that has you convinced? Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asked me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Oh, that's logical, I suppose. Although... Yes? Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose... if there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware... I'd have to reconsider my position. Well, there is! A 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene? Could that be possible? I can prove it! Allow me to show you, then, the 3rd bullet. Nothing up my sleeves, nothing behind my jacket, but if you look carefully behind my lawyer's armband, you'll find...
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Windibank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired.
Hold it!
What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? In the fucking thing you've been holding on to this whole time and never bothered to look into. It was lodged inside Mr. Shulm's pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Shulm's waist before he was taken to hospital. And since then, it has been touched by no one. Do you mean to say the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know where the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Shulm's. It's clearly visible in this photographic print. Oh! 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windibank and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers. An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. Ah. But that must mean... That's right. We now know on the night in question 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Gah! Gah! Oh, graceful pose. Order! 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 While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which the case against the defendant has been built. No presents for you, Van Zykes. As is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once.
Witnesses.
Governor!
Were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination?
We was, Governor! Oh, we was, Governor, we was! Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble. Simply answer one question. A third bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov! I don't make no— Oh, okay. Is this one of yours? Go blimey! Wait, Ringo was saying this? Go blimey, Gov! Go blimey, not a chance! In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? What? Never! This Skulkin brothers work alone! Except for your third brother, who's missing. Who's that fucking white dude who looks nothing like you? I fucking knew it. Get the Eggsy guy back in here. I knew he was introduced in the damn case. He had to be important somehow. Get him the fuck back in here. Get through this. It was just the two of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The third bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy, that's an head scratcher.
Counsel for the defense.
Yes?
I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The third bullet, and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came.
Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this third bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. They had another gun! No, they had a secret accomplice. Let's move this along. On the night at Windibank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a third man. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of this accomplice. But the evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present, someone carrying a gun.
Objection!
An accomplice, you say? Pig swill. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a third man. You're already forgetting the brother's testimony at the start of this damn trial. And that was weeks ago for us. If this apparently wraith-like being exists, the court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. Duh! The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence, that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of this spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding?
Well, counsel?
I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demands, my lord, the defense is ready to present answers. Let's go down this rabbit hole. The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. Yeah, I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference.
In that case, counsel, I would ask you present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was ever a third intruder present at the scene?
So, the evidence I need to present is the green blood. But do I... Because the blood smear only got on the calendar after the day turned over. And we now know that it's the same blood that's on the music box disc, which Gregsy had. So do I present the music box disc, or do I go back to presenting the blood sample? I have 5 errors, so I might as well just... We'll use this first. And if it's not that, then it's the blood sample.
Take that!
Nah, this is a prelude to failing, I know it. So it's the blood samples portfolio. If you had guessed blood sample portfolio at home, you get a point. Alright, I'm taking a screen cap of your racist ass. Yes, yes, it's the blood sample portfolio. I got it, I got it, I got it. Get to the point. This.
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. There are 4 pages to this, Van Zykes. 4 pages, and they're pictures! You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this third intruder. Well, which one is it? Oh shit. Well, now we have the same problem again, but do I present the image of the music box disc? Or do I present the image of this? I'm thinking it's this.
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a blood stain, my lord. A blood stain? Green blood? Oh, curious, even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some inhuman creature, like the Nipponese? It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective! New invention, stop! Not yet appearing stories, stop! It's this, you see? It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with different elements of people's blood to change its color. Different elements of people's blood? Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Ooh, that brings a whole new extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of bloody courtroom, stop! Very exciting, stop! As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Windibank. A striking blue. Yes, so you see the green color of this blood stain on the calendar shows that someone else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now hold fire there, young man. It could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. Ooh! The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windibank was killed. By golly! Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. Then whose blood is it? Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear? You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder? Say it once, say it twice, say it 3 times, and 4th time it's Male Strongheart! Or it's you. Oh, Barak. Where did we learn that your first name was Barak? Feels like there should be a N. Anyway, it's Eggert.
Take that!
The man's name is Eggert Benedict. Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, Counsel? He paid a visit. Whoa, I'm getting the Russian accent in here again. He paid a visit to Windibank's pawnbrokery on the afternoon before the incident took place. Then the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Egbert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. There, see? Then he had a gun. Yeah, a bunch of fancy boy talking. Yada, yada, yada. Now that's a lie! What you trying to pull? Says Gina. Then he tried to put on an overcoat that clearly didn't fit. We had a whole bunch of dancing around the room with good poses. Clearly JoJo was inspired by this episode. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector?
Yes, my lord, that's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windibank for a print showing the fellow. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder gubbins.
Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Windibank that morning.
And you claim that this... Oh, wait.
And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice? Well, Mr. Skulkin? Never seen the geezer before in my life. On my life, Gub. On my life. Never seen him. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I am sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then show us the evidence! I agree. We must see proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. And that's where the music box disc comes in. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. But now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel? Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photographic print was, in fact, the victim struck by the third bullet. Hold on to your wine glass, Van Zykes. I've got something for you.
Take that!
As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully, admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windibanks. Which was when the aforementioned Egbert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no? That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred. Here we are, back in the flashback. Look at this fat guy, give him a disc. The article to fit you, and we know. Strike a pose. And they all worked for Dio. Being a music box disc, it has countless... Man, I cannot get music box disc off the tongue very quickly, can I? Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions all over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed. And the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now. Goodness! A bloodstain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty fogger gun! Yes, and we added the results to this portfolio. I say! It's green. It's exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar! The evidence is conclusive. the man calling himself Mr. Eggert Benedict, who was Mr. Windibanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that night.
Oh, look at those feathers now. They're sweating buckets. Oh, what are you talking about? It's boiling in here.
My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Eggert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now. This flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Sherlock Holmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of detection or some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court of the land. You expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So the bloodstained to the shade of green. What of it? Yes, you are successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Well, legs up! And pray do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it! Ah! I don't trust Sherlock Holmes! I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. Hey, game, that's my joke. You don't get to take that from me. It's mine. Don't you dare point out that the judge looks like Santa Claus. That was my thing. It was mine. About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it? Good grief! What did you just say, young girl? In a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Early's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she's right. Young lady, you have quite the devious mind. You're getting cold. It really just comes down to one thing. Oh, boy, I'm slipping into Mr. Moon territory now. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Bruno. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter! After that shrewd precis of a woman from of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination is yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for the final leanings on this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I am sure you will come to a fair and just conclusions. Oh, ha ha! No. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
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 Not guilty.
Hung jury, I move for a mistrial. Two call guilty and 4 call not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection!
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt. I'm sorry, Lord Van Zykes, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue. Dark! Ah! My heart! It's beating! Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible. What? The name of the gentleman gave for himself, Egbert Benedict, is quite clearly false. I mean, seriously, that pun is so obvious. We haven't had anyone in this courtroom use a pun like that before. I don't believe it! Just when I managed to prove the man was there that night. Who's talking right now? I'm not even gonna guess. Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke?
It was me, my lord.
Juror number 5? What have you to say, madam?
If possible, Inspector.
Me, ma'am?
I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. The one in which the gentleman is shown.
Oh, right, yes. This one, you mean? Or, of Mr. Benedict?
Yes. There's no doubt in my mind.
Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man?
Yes, I know him.
What?
No! Good gracious!
Okay, so now all of the jurors, aside from the stereoscope guy and the maid, are witnesses to this case. It just gets worse. Yeah, order. Juror number 5, how on earth?
I am a communications officer. Stop.
As we can clearly see,
The gentleman in the photograph is. Stop. Also a communications officer. Stop. He works in my office. Stop. I'm a telephone operator, in fact. Stop. He should be in the communication station now. Stop. Tapping away on the telegraph. Stop.
this doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be sort of hardened criminal. Oh my god. My eyes are burning. One moment, please. Oh, my bullshit allergies are going off the charts. It's a bit unexpected to find out he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up into at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong. If the gentleman... If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zykes, if you please. Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste. As your lordship bids. The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witnesses arrive, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson.
Yes, my lord.
I should like to hear from you specifically about the events at the pawnbroker on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. We'll have an ex parte hearing.
Yes, sir, my lord.
Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m. Alright. Hey, fading to black at almost the 2-hour mark. That's nice, especially since I do not think I can go on for another part. I was hoping to wrap this case up before we roll too deep into November. But the plans of mice and men so easily led astray. Well, that's unfortunate, but we'll be back with this sooner rather than later. I definitely want to see if I can't do more of this in a week than I have previously. Let's see, who's online right now? Oh, it looks like Jello Apocalypse is actually still doing this case, so I guess I won't send you guys over to him. Spoilers! He's probably ahead of me by now, since I had to take a week off. Let's see, we've got Taka at the Weary 101. Joe Cat doing some Final Fantasy 14 stuff, and we got Nick doing some Bully. Let's watch Nick beat up some children. I'll send you guys over to him. Oh, Lane Bator. Whoopsie, typed that in wrong. There we go. Alright, guys. I hope you have a good night and a great weekend. Not quite sure when we'll be back, since DFS at the table is taking a break a bit. But we'll be back. Trust me, we'll be back. I know it. I feel it in my bones. But until then, bye, guys.